שלום לכם, אנשים טובים, אחים ואחיות, וברוכים הבאים לערוץ הקטן שלי היום. Today I want to talk to you about a word that is associated with regal and or royal. Oh, what a coincidence. A word, second clue, that is associated somehow with purple. What a coincidence again. A purple shirt with the word royal written on it. Royal is my last name too. Wow, that is uncanny. And finally, third clue, a word that is associated with the state of being selected and or chosen. What is our word today in this second edition of Hot Second Hebrew? Our word is sagal. Sagal. Sagal, spelled with a samech, gimel, and a lamed. It looks like this. Samech, gimel, and a lamed. Here's our word, sagal. Okay? So, if you remember from previous recordings, just as a reminder, I'll do it as often as necessary. The greater majority of Hebrew words all have at least a three-letter shoresh or root. Samech, Gimel, and Lamed has a three-letter root or shoresh in Hebrew is the word shoresh, singular, root, shoreshim, roots, okay? Um, and in our particular word to get today, um, I've given you three clues already. It's associated with regal or royal. It's associated somehow with purple, and it's also associated um, with the state of being chosen. Where do we find this word? Now, you would expect me to go immediately to the Tanakh. That's what you would expect, but guess what? Curveball. I'm going to take you to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. David, wait. There are no Hebrew words in there. Well, if you own a Hebrew New Testament, yes, it is. But more importantly and seriously, in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, which is a very popular verse that a lot of people are prone to quote, it has the Greek version of our word today. I am not going to try to pronounce that. I'll leave that to Shanshan 916. That's her area. I know how to stay in my lane. But let's take a look at this verse. First Peter chapter 2, verse 9. And it reads as follows. Aval atem am nivchar. But you are a selected or a chosen people. Mamlechet kohanim vegoy kadosh. A government or a kingdom of priests and a holy ethnos, a holy nation, a holy race. Uh-oh. Am segula. Am segula. That's the word we're looking for. A people of possession, segula. That's our Hebrew word today. Now, you heard me say sagal. Don't freak out. Sagal is our word. That's the masculine form. Segula, as we see here, am segula, is just a feminine form of that same word. Don't worry, I'll write it down for you. Okay? למען תספרו תהילותיו של הקורא אתכם מחושך אל אורו הנפלא. To call forth the praises or to call out the praises of the one who called you out of darkness into Oro Hanifla, his wondrous and or marvelous light. So that Greek word is spelled Peripoiesin. That is the brother-sister Koine word for our word today, segula. Let's talk about this word more in detail. And as promised, A little bit more of an explanation because I'm sure a lot of you will want to know, why did I go from Sagal to Sgula? Sagal, Sgula. So you see the form Sagal, okay? Remember, three-letter root Hebrew words, and they are always found in the third person masculine singular past tense. Sagal. Okay, so this means um, um, it carries a connotation of, if it's a verb, he did this or that. Okay, he. Okay, even if the word who is not there, it's implied that it refers to masculine. But in this case, we're speaking of a treasured or a people of possession. So it's people, segula. Because the word and or people in green down here, because the word is feminine, therefore the modifying word has to also match and be feminine. So it becomes segula. Segula. All in green down here. A treasured people. Segula, a treasured people. But what exactly does the word sagal or segula mean? Because after all, David, all you've done is tease us. Is tease us, right? Well, let's do it a letter at a time. This is Paleo Hebrew. Now, disclaimer here, and it's going to ruffle some feathers. That's okay. I like feathers. I also like ruffles because they have ridges. Uh, Paleo Hebrew is not a spoken language. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It is not a spoken language. It is a pictorial language. Okay. And when I say language, I say from the standpoint of that you can take select words more often than not all the time, but more often than not, you can take select Hebrew words and you can take them apart, dissect them, trisect them, bisect them, one letter at a time. Look at the individual meaning of each letter, and more often than not, get a deeper look or a picture meaning into that word. You would be hard pressed to do that for an entire sentence and come up with anything coherent, let alone an entire paragraph, let alone an entire book, or as a means of communication. Paleo Hebrew is not a spoken language. Let that sink in. Good. Okay, so now let's go a letter at a time. So if we start with the first letter of our word, samech, okay? Samech, its original paleo uh, pictograph symbol is a thorn. A thorn, okay? One of the oldest um, um, and defunct words in Hebrew for a thorn is the word sin, spelled with a samech, yod, and a nun sofit. Okay, you also have the word kotz, kotzim. Kotzim is a thorn, or thorns. Kotzim or kotz is a thorn, right? Like the crown of thorn that Mashiach um, had on his head. But one of the older, almost defunct words is sin. This is what's believed to be meant by the wilderness of sin, not sin. The wilderness of thorns and thistles, because it was desolate. Okay, it was desolate. Okay, so a thorn is used to snag, or a thorn will snag if you walk past it. It'll rip your clothing. It'll grab a hold of flesh, even. So, sin is associated with grabbing. A thorn and with grabbing, okay? Grabbing and or taking. Our next letter, Gimel. Gimel. So Gimel, okay, is a foot. Like we all have 2 feet. Gimel is a foot. It is a form of support used to hold one up. It's also associated with gathering and or rounding up. Okay. Also, if you look in scripture, um, it also means to deal abundantly with, to deal graciously and or abundantly with, to lavish upon. someone or something. And sof sof, finally, we have the letter lamed. Lamed, the shepherd's staff. Lamed, the shepherd's staff. Okay, it means to, of course, teach, to lead, and or to nourish. So if you want to look at the meaning of sagal, a letter at a time, you will see that it means to snag or to take for oneself. Yes? It means to deal abundantly with, lavish upon, cause to walk or support. And then finally, to teach, nourish, and lead. These are all the characteristics of something being taken possession of. This is why Amsegula is often translated as a treasured people, a people of possession, not, you know, Linda Blair exorcist. I'm talking about to be taken as an achuzim, as a possession. Okay, so uh, a people of possession. So where does the treasured people, where does the treasured idea come in from, or the royal idea? Well, segol. Segol is the Hebrew word for the color purple. No, not until you do right by me. No, not that color purple. Ooh, Celia, you sure is ugly. Not that. No, no. The literal, like my shirt, it's associated with the color purple, which is associated with regal and or royalty. Okay, it's one of the two words for purple in the Hebrew language, segol. Okay, so sagal, segula. Okay, segol, the color, and the other word for purple in Hebrew is argaman. Argaman. All right. I also want you to see a couple of verses before we get out of here from the Tanakh. I gave you a New Testament verse and the Greek counterpart word. If you want to look it up, I ain't going to try to say it again. It is Peripoie with a long mark over the top, Sin. Okay, that is the brother sister koine Greek word. But in Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. We'll look at one of the verses here, maybe a second. Let's see how that clock's looking. Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 reads as follows. Ve'ata, and now, im shamoa tishmeru becholi, if you will heed and be obedient to my voice, ushmartem et briti, and guard and keep my covenant, v'yitim li, and you will be to me, segula mikol ha'amim kili kol ha'aretz. You will be a treasured possession to me because the whole earth is mine. Okay, you'll be a treasure. We got time for one more. Yes, one more. How about Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6? Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. And it reads as follows. Ki'am kadosh ata, ki'am kadosh ata, because a holy people you are, la Yahuwah, to Yahuwah Elohecha, to Yahuwah your Elohim, becha bachar Yahuwah Elohecha, להיות לו עם סגולה מכל העמים אשר על פני האדמה, because it is Yahuwah who chose you to be a treasured possession people מכל האנשים or מכל העמים על פני האדמה, from among all of the people on the face of the earth. You can also write down Psalm 116 verse 7, which basically says, return to me, or return, O my soul, to your rest. Why? Because Yahuwah has dealt bountifully with you, the meaning of the word Gimel, or Gamal, or the word Gamal. Okay, so what do you think of when you think of regal? What do you think of when you think of royal? Do you think, of um, a jewel laden crown, a um, scepter, or flowing regal robes, or a bunch of people sitting in a room listening to stuffy classical music or something? No, think in a different way. Think about the fact that it Sagal or Amsegula, a treasured or royal people, they are gathered and they are chosen, but it's in a very humble way so that no one can get full of themselves. Like the sheep and like lamb, they're gathered together and protected from predators. This is, again, the whole meaning behind our word sagal. The whole meaning sagal, to be snagged or grabbed. Okay, again, to be supported, caused to walk and gathered, and then to be led and to be nurtured. Um, Focus on the king. Focus on the king. Why? Because the earth is his and the fullness thereof. And yeah, that's it. So that's it for our second edition of Hot Second Hebrew in the Word Sagal. All right. I hope you got something out of this and it was a blessing to you in some way. Remember, if you can, to consider please liking, sharing, and if you have not yet, uh, possibly even subscribe. I'd appreciate it. All right. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon.